So welcome for everybody who just flew in to our panel discussion around ChatGPT, the end of modern education as we know it. Very excited to have you here. We're waiting for people to come in and start in a couple of minutes. Yeah, please take a seat. Feel free to learn a little bit more about the environment we have here. We are here currently at the campus of Tomorrow's University, which means you see a map view on the one hand side. You can walk around here with the arrows. If you are funny, you can also throw snowballs by pressing the button T. It's winter season, so that's also possible. And yeah, again, we'll take a couple of minutes before we start. If you're interested to engage, you can also have the possibility always at the bottom of your navigation to share emotions. If you like something, you can press 3, for example, thumbs up. You can clap with pressing 1. You can say you're scared with pressing 8, or if you love something, give it a 6. Exactly, thumbs up. It's also always nice. Yeah, you can experiment around while they're waiting. And we also have here the possibility to actually collect questions. So on the top of the slides, you see already here the link to the questions. And this link is also available in the chat on the left-hand side. Yeah. For the session itself, I recommend in the top right corner, you have a button which is called Gallery, and this will increase the size of the video and remove the map, so it's more convenient actually to have that view. So we are currently actually coming in more and more people. Give me a few more minutes before we actually start, but really great to see so many actually tuning in. As mentioned, we have literally we have a full reservation list actually on people. So it's also limited seats available. Make yourself comfortable. Going to have a really amazing panel here, already waiting for your questions. So please note this session will be also recorded. So if you don't want to be on record, please deactivate your video. If you're fine to be on record, please activate your video. It's always more engaging to see you. Then we have some kind of interaction possibility, but as mentioned, it's also possible just to deactivate your video if you don't want to be on record. So as people are tuning in, again, let me just recap that this is the campus of Tomorrow University. So it's a little bit different experience than a typical actually video experience. You have an avatar which you can use to walk around here, explore the campus. I hope everybody finds his way into the event space. The event space is the place where the panel is happening. As soon as you would leave the event space, you will not be able to listen anymore. Yeah, the event space has limited capacity, so I recommend to stay here. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee that you get in eventually again. So, looking very much forward to starting it. Maybe one more minute before we kick it off. And I see that we have now quite a full list here of people already. Just watching that.
It looks good.
Yeah, nice. Thank you very much. So I mute new guests, but you can speak. If you want to speak and have questions, there are 2 ways to do that. Either you add a question on here in the link we provide, also in the chat, or you for sure also possible to speak up. So I would suggest that we actually kick it off. So welcome to the panel discussion about ChatGPT, the end of modern education as we know it, how AI will change the future of learning, especially. That's what we want to focus today. How will it transform our society eventually, and what is actually, how does the future actually in stock for us? I'm very excited about this panel discussion today. My background, I'm Christian Remenek. My background is actually being in the technology space for more than 20 years, helping to build startups. But also I'm a founder and chancellor of Tomorrow University, where we have actually educate and empower the change makers of tomorrow with our bachelor and master degree programs. We have today with us an amazing panel I'm very excited about, from professors, from Anna Maria as professor joining, from Oliver Janoschka to Stephan, Bredt, Fabian, Westerheide, and Richard Manning. But I would like to leave it actually to the panelists to introduce themselves, starting with the women in our round here. I'm handing over to you, Anna Maria, to introduce yourself.
Hello all, it's a pleasure being here. I'm Anna Maria. I'm an artificial intelligence scientist. I've been operating in the space of artificial intelligence and cognitive systems, so systems that work well with and for the human mind, for about 14 years. I have over 70 published papers and a book. I have acted as expert for the European Union and various other smaller institutions, mostly on initiatives related to artificial intelligence and well-being, robotics, health, and I have a deep connection with the innovative skill set, creativity, which I have investigated also in my research. And I am part of Tomorrow University. I'm very proud of it because I think it's very aligned with my mission. And it's going to be a pleasure to talk to all of you today. I'm looking forward to the interesting interactions.
Thank you very much. Big pleasure to have you here, also as an AI expert, but also representing the educational system actually, and how we actually need to deal with AI in the future. Handing over to Oliver Janoschka, as a managing director of the Hochschulforum Digitalisierung. Very big pleasure to have you. Maybe also you want to give us a quick introduction to yourself.
Of course. Thanks a lot, Christian, for the invitation. I'm excited, really happy to be here today. I worked for some years now in Germany around the question how digital transformation can work and have opportunities in higher education. I'm very passionate for that for around 20 years now in different European settings. And in this, we have started with something we call in Germany the Forum for Digital Transformation in Higher Education, that brings together different communities, working together collaboratively, picking out the opportunities. And in this sense, I feel I'm really looking forward to the discussion today and to your questions. Thank you, Christian.
Thank you very much, Oliver, for joining. Really great to have you here. Knowing also our educational system very well, and also the challenges eventually in transformation, which this includes. So next up, I would like to introduce you, Stephan Bredt, coming from the Hessian Ministry. Stephan.
Hi, thank you very much for being with you today here. My name is Stephan. I'm Director General in the Ministry of Economic Affairs in the state of Hessen, and I'm occupied with all kinds of questions around technological change in our economy. For example, I've engaged in the setting up of the TIC Quartier, our biggest entrepreneurship hub in the Frankfurt region. We are currently building with many academia and industries data trustee, with which we want to overcome the topic of data silos and make more AI applications available, not only to academia, but for commercial use and also for the public entities. Eurodat it's called. And also currently we're setting up broader programs for more entrepreneurship in Germany, and we want to reach out to more universities and students and PhDs to engage in entrepreneurship and commercial activities. So we were really happy to see this new university in the state of Hessen here, and bringing the topic of AI and more to us.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm a lawyer from profession, so that's also I think very interesting, because in all these projects, I mean, law is really framing AI topics as well. So technology and law comes together, and we try to enable it, not to prohibit.
Amazing. Thank you very much, Stephan. Very important part. So true. talking about data and how you actually deal and use data for AI is a very important aspect, as well as the region and how we can use that further to foster innovation. Handing over to Fabian, very excited to have you as well here, the founder and CEO of Rise of AI.
Yeah, good evening. Thank you for the invitation. So in a tagline, I would say I'm an entrepreneur and investor for AI for the last, decade already. Tech background, has started a lot of companies. I always struggle to say who I am because until COVID, it was easy. Yeah, there I was, advising European national level, educating over the AI, telling the world, please take it serious. Look what China is doing. Look what the United States doing. Where's the European answer? Well, then COVID came and things started to move. But on the other hand, I bought myself a cabin in the woods and lived for 2 years outside and mainly didn't educate others, but educate myself and dedicated, I would say, to my body, mind, and soul. Yeah. Very deep journey into mine. And today I'm back, the last years and saying okay, tech is super important. We have a lot of challenges and education is one of the most crucial answers to all problems. And that's why I like to be here today. That's why I'd like to talk about this topic. That's why I like this is a nice handy tool what we all need because it is another iteration and it's showing forward. And yeah, by the way, to later follow up if you want to, we can share our LinkedIn profiles there. So always reach out if you have some ideas, thoughts, and comments.
Thank you so much, Fabian. And as you see here, a couple of emojis already starting to fly around. Yeah, you can use the numbers on your keyboard from, I think, 1 to 9 to share different emojis. A thumbs up is a 3, but you see this also in your button navigation. Actually, there's a thumbs up or there's a clapping. All is possible to share a little bit and engage here how you feel about what you actually hear is said, and it's highly appreciated. So please do that. So next up, very excited to hand over to Richard, Richard here, Manning student as well. So please to you.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. As already mentioned, my name is Richard, and I'm really, really happy to be a student at this really awesome university. I'm currently studying here the professional master. And besides that, I'm also working full-time as a CTO for Novaheal, where we develop a learning application for care workers and nurses in Germany.
Very excited. So thank you very much actually for introducing yourself. I think it's a very exciting panel allowing us to discuss the very different perspectives actually of ChatGPT or of AI and how this evolves and what this actually means for the education system. So again, a big welcome here to the audience. We're looking forward to a very engaged discussion. And I mentioned already you have the possibility to share your emotions with the possibility of the numbers. Please note in the top right corner, you have a button which is called Gallery. This allows you to increase the size of the pictures. There's a map view and there's a gallery view. In the top right corner, there's a button. You can press gallery view and then it will change. And you will have the view of the people you're seeing here. In the left hand, and maybe to mention that one as well, there is the possibility to chat. There's a bubble. In the chat, you find also the link to ask questions. Yeah, the link to ask questions is important. It's the same as you see here on the presentation, but you can copy and paste or click it from there. This allows you to ask questions and also rate up questions. So if you like questions which others have already asked, you can give them a thumbs up and they will move up, and then we can include the most interesting questions actually in the discussions. And we, in that way, create a more engaging discussion actually involving any question which comes from you as well. So very excited to have you all here. Please note, as last sentence, we have also the recorder bot here. We will record this session. We very highly appreciate if you activate your video. This will allow us to see you, but it's also possible if you don't want to be recorded that you please turn off your video on the other hand side. Yeah? With that said, let's kick things off with the first question. So, and I would like to start the discussion actually with what are the risks you see in AI? And here's a really nice, or for me actually, interesting article which was shown up just that New York City bans the use of ChatGPT in classrooms. Yeah, and a spokesperson shared here about a tool, may be able to provide quick and easy answers to questions. It does not build critical thinking and problem-solving skills, which are essential for academic and lifelong success. And I would like to start with Fabian, actually. What is your perspective on the risks you see on AI? And I leave this here up as a question for everybody to refer to the question. So Fabian, what do you see?
First comment there, we assume everyone knows ChatGPT. Not everyone knows it. Yeah, ChatGPT makes it easier for you to find answers, write text, generate content. It's just the beginning. There will be more. Everything which is digital will be what is already today or soon not provable if it's made by human or AI. I mean, we all know it by filters, by images. It's already out there. Most of us are aware, but those who are not aware or who are afraid or are surprised by it, they start with regulation. So I start with disagreeing. You don't need to prevent ChatGPT, because I think it's smart if you use it. I mean, we want to enable you to think smart, to find creative ways. And if you figured something out because of technology, why do it the hard way? Yeah, I think the education system has to adapt, and then saying like, okay, it's like PE class. You go to sports, you can't cheat, you have to do it physical. So come in the room and write physical. Figure it out yourself, but be smart and use it. Overall, there needs to be rules to make it fair, and there needs to be rules to make it, to prevent misuse. But honestly, there will be thousands of people using it, and the smart people make businesses out of this, and then will emerge something very nice and beautiful. And when I went to school, Wikipedia was very fresh. Like just going there and using it was like feeling like cheating. But I don't feel like I cheated at the end. I was just smarter. Instead of going to the library, I just Googled this stuff. So I think this is technology out there. Use it, be smart, and we have to adapt. Companies have to adapt. Governments have to adapt. We have to figure this out and not just prevent it or abolish it. No, let it go and just accept the reality. And that's my pitch, because I don't believe that using technology is reducing your critical thinking. That would be the same like liking my mother's pictures is like calling her at the end. Yeah, and it's just another form to transfer maybe information. But as I said, I put this in the room so we have a discussion.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Fabian. And this Wikipedia reference already resonates with me very well, because it was also kind of a big step from the library to actually all the knowledge becomes available. And now we have ChatGPT, which helps you actually to do things faster by providing a quick answer on your challenges. Anna Maria, handing over to you because you raised your hand first.
Yes, I would love to take it over from Fabian. I believe that, like Fabian, that whenever a new tool is invented, we learn more about ourselves. And there is some kind of co-evolution cycle that we are in with our own tools. So, of course, it depends on how we use it. It's only a tool. But I do remember there was this debate even when the Gutenberg press was invented. Like people were obsessed that now we're never going to use our memory is going to decay. We had oral cultures. People used to memorize the Iliad and the Odyssey, So they thought like knowledge, it's going to decay, right? And obviously, we don't think anymore that knowledge was our ability to memorize. We use our minds in completely different ways. So I think with each step in technology, the way we use our mind also evolves. So, and I've seen that there's already a question about whether ChatGPT is going to go after our jobs. So I think I would challenge someone that is in a job where they think that ChatGPT could go after it. Like, let's say you're producing blogs. How can you use ChatGPT to evolve yourself and become a better blog creator, right? I'm handing it over to others.
You just want to continue.
Okay, so I work a lot with the classic institutions, and in this sense, I would say there is an indirect risk in the sense that I would argue that it maybe adds to the gap that you see a few institutions. Maybe Tomorrow University is one of them, and I could name others where they really apply the potential, where they really develop new formulas more quickly. And then there are others that are very resistant, very slow. And you highlighted a ban already. And I could grasp from the different discussions that in German higher education institutions, some of them are thinking about it. And so this sort of spread that you have maybe a few evangelist protagonists and a bigger group that is not so quickly able to go after that, where maybe different reasons are slowing them down, that this is maybe one element. I would also argue on a personal level, in terms of individuals, that you may see that there is I think in English you call it the Matthew effect. So some of the learners may apply it, and I can talk about my own son, who is really happily shortcutting some of his stuff, even thinking about running his own business on this. So it's in a sense also amazing, but I would feel there are many others that are not so easily doing that. And last weekend there was a discussion in a German national radio where they were also discussing, okay, what is it with the people that are not in the institutions? How can you work with people that are maybe very far from this technological divide? And in this regard, I think cutting it short, we will see more polarization. And the interesting question is, and I can see the colleague from Hessian here, how can we develop formulas in policy levels that maybe smoothen that, or that enable institutions to make more use of this potential?
But Oliver, maybe I want to ask a follow-up question quickly to you here. Looking at ChatGPT is a little bit like searching something at Google. There is a ranking of what the result looks like. Isn't it a danger that the result is just pointing you in the wrong direction?
That you think that this is one? Yeah, I mean, obviously right now, starting with these developments, we have seen that some results are not trustworthy, that the references are not there yet. But this, I would say, is maybe also a question of time. What is it that we see now, and where do we see the curve going in the next month or definitely years?
Thank you. Stephan, you also raised your hand already.
Yeah, thank you very much. I think it's an amazing development, and I've already also started playing with ChatGPT and helped my daughter with her homework. And it is interesting, and I think, of course, I mean, we will not stop any development. We must learn about this instrument. I think it's much more important that everywhere, at our jobs, as well as in school universities, we must understand, and also teachers, professors, staff needs to employ it in a sensible way. But that's no problem, I think. We have all these translating programs which we need now, and we don't use translators anymore. You know, we just take the computer, DeepL or something, and then we have it. But what I wonder is, how will it change, you know, our perception of reality? Because here you get now a really narrative story from a program which we cannot only use for your homework, but for everything else. And as far as I understand it, the information basis of ChatGPT is not different from that of Google. That means it doesn't go deeper. It doesn't go into the deep web. So it will displace about 20%, I would say, of the knowledge, but it's not in it resources information-wise from more elevated sources. And that means, I mean, if we more and more use this part of the internet, and we say, okay, that's the narrative of this topic, and so what does it that has questions for me. For example, if it becomes so much more tangible to use internet to get a text or any kind of product, do we need to reflect about how to more open the deep web so that we don't have a development to more, let's say, fake news, you know, or manipulated news or anything, and that we get real information in these tools? I wonder if we have to reflect about that, because otherwise, these, I would say, 20% of information layer in the web becomes more and more important, because it is used by very interesting tools, and they really rich and academic information, they rest below, and they are not included in this tool. So I wonder if we have to change some or reflect in a new way here.
I love this question actually, and before I hand over actually, Anna-Maria, maybe so quick reminder here for anybody in the audience who has questions, please put them into the link. We are collecting all the questions and then we'll rate them up, and I will hand them over to the panel. Yeah, so if you have questions, don't hesitate. Please go to this link on top here, and then we will ask them. Stephan, what I was thinking? Do you expect that the government creates their own ChatGPT with maybe better quality data, trusted data, because we don't know what ChatGPT is actually relying its data source on?
No, I think, but I mean, where is the very interesting data is it's with universities, it's in many institutions, and I wonder if we have to reflect on the way how they treat all information. They're all there, but they're more complicated to reach, and that is of course because of legal protection, of texts and information and so on, and that's all fine. But the question if that's the right way for the future, or do we have to find a new way to bring these all very important and very good information from research, etc., more into the broader use? Because I mean, in the end, this is not only about information and research, but about, of course, education. Democracy is all about good information, in fact. If we have a widening gap here, and there's much more very interesting instruments like ChatGPT now and more coming, but it's only resting on this smaller information basis, which then attracts more users, and maybe we will have an unbalanced than use of information. That's what I want to say. And of course, that's an ongoing debate whether public institutions should open more up, because they sit on a lot of very important, very delicate information. But I first thought of more about research and all this kind of information.
I just see that a lot of questions actually coming in. Let me, Anna-Maria, maybe I'm handing over to you. I think you have a thought on that, and you want to comment here. No, we can't hear you. You're muted. Sorry.
Just a quick direct comment to Stephan's point, which I find very interesting, that ChatGPT only uses 20% of information or something like that. I actually was thinking today about a potential application that would go in the opposite direction, which is the fact that there are many scientists that the language that they use is very specialized. And one of the things that ChatGPT can do is translate these things that they talk about in very simple language, like you can tell it to translate it for a 5-year-old. So actually, I was thinking that very expert knowledge might be disseminated much faster if you're a scientist that should do outreach, but you don't have the time for it or necessarily the pleasure for it. You could just have ChatGPT translate some of your research into normal language and create quite fast some resources to help people access that level of science. So I think that could be an interesting thing too.
Thank you very much. Vijay, handing over to you, and then we go to the next question.
Just to add to Anna-Maria, I think I really like the idea, because we at Novaheal also thought about like a way to do this, because in the current way of learning from a nurse in Germany, you have to learn German, and it can get really complicated. And so maybe we could use the GPT to make the text even easier and even more accessible to people that are just learning German. And I think it would be great to have this kind of source.
So let me move on because I have a lot of questions here lining up. But then I think you see already it's a very engaging and very interesting topic. But I would like also to move forward to which opportunities do you see actually for AI in education? We touched this actually already. And here from the UNESCO, there are 24.4 million teachers actually in primary education and 44 million teachers needed for secondary education in order to achieve universal basic education by 2030. So maybe handing over here to Oliver, from your perspective, what kind of opportunities do you really see which are coming up with using HDI in education, and maybe talking more about teachers even?
Yeah, thanks, Christian. I'm happy to kick off, and I'm sure with the panelists here, we have a whole lots of good opportunities mentioned. But I believe when I look back in the last years, and I would say the last 20 years, I have never come across in such a short time such a high level of attention and interest, and also to some degree excitement. So you can talk with a lot of very, very different people that look at this thing, at these developments from different perspectives, but this sort of awakening, what are we actually seeing here? How much does this impact our system right now and in the upcoming years? This is creating a new level of discussion. And obviously, as mentioned before, it's just, in the dynamics are starting. So I think this sort of doorbell, this ringing, maybe disruption, is a quite strong opportunity from my perspective, so that we can review what is it that we are actually catering for, how can we further enhance the quality. And in this sense, I do think it's also momentum for collaboration, be it with different solution providers, be it with applying different tools and services. Inclusion was mentioned, or this new set of solutions that wasn't so easily available before. I think this is a momentum to exploit. Of course, it can also make your life easier. If I look at different professors, they may use it in the administration field. We may see a lot of repetitive tasks that can be found in a new fashion, like in new solutions. But last not least, the thing that I find most intriguing when I look at the learning model right now, I think the fit is the institution is setting up a certain kind of curricula and program, and then the learner is in a sense adapting to it. And I think what we can see here now with this assistant model is that maybe really the interest of the learner is what we have been discussing for a long time at the core. And then the question, how can this be applied for learning processes, for mentoring, for correcting? This potential, I really find it the most interesting, because it can make things more flexible. It can create different pathways. And in this sense, I feel we really have an opportunity to exploit that and to maybe get together like we do here with a lot of different people and perspectives. So let's say on the positive side from my...
Oliver, I need to just jump in here and ask one question before I hand over to G. We have a question from the audience, and I need to ask this, which was about, will ChatGPT take away jobs, but maybe put it more radical, we will see teachers being replaced by ChatGPT.
I think we will see a new alignment and a new combination. I think it's maybe the question, what is the teacher doing right now that he really should, and how can these sort of combinations be developed? What is the learning design? So you may have heard methods like inverted classrooms. They are to some extent right now in place, but definitely not the mainstream. But if you would think about how to maybe redefine the role of the professor, I think this makes up a new universe of opportunities. And in the end of the day, I think to really make it smarter and to have a more advanced level of education is something that is definitely at stake and highly needed.
So you will see the teachers changing their role actually and their focus, if you understand you rightly. Handing over to you, Fabian. What do you see as opportunities in AI? And I think, yeah, if your track record looking right from the beginning of AI, it's very interesting because it becomes now such a wave as Oliver described. Yeah, it's all of a sudden.
Honestly, it's not a wave. Like if you're in the field of AI, it's no surprise. Nothing in the last years is a surprise. Sure, because you always had a paper before, then you knew someone was working in it, a prototype. And I mean, before there was a ChatGPT, there was GTP 3, 2, 1. There was DALL-E. There's the German versions, DeepL. They're all large models, but they're all part of a bigger thing. I mean, if we talk about big strategy, different discussion. When we speak about education, I say you have to look for those who do better. That's, for example, is China. I mean, China is the most superior technology country of the world in the mass and the execution, not all over the field, but in AI, they are significant ahead of us, especially in application. It is not our ethical cultural values, but we have to learn from there. I mean, they are living George Orwell's dreams. So what you can learn from there is custom education. I hated school in the terms that everyone was equal. Yes, I didn't have adaptive systems. United States did this by better with honorary classes, etc. But you know, you go to high gymnasium or Mittelschule, then. And then there is no race to the top, you know, no bell curve, but also no individual teaching. You have always the same level. And if the teacher was nice, it was the lower level because of the less smart or adaptive students. So AI can overcome this. Second, it's an adaptive system. So it learns way better in, you know, where you're strong, how you can teach more, where you're weak. And it's like the whole school context will change. It's not about everyone is doing the same. No, you're doing this, what fits best to you. And the AI in the big context is understanding this. This works in China, by the way, already. They just stopped it because politically they decided, oh, it doesn't go the way we want to, but it worked. I know the companies like 5-6 years ago. Next one is rating. We all know teachers were either, oh, I like you or I don't like you, and that means your grades were going up and down. And even in universities, ratings were never objective. So first, I like if in AI would do objective rating, yes, and then always the human in the loop. Just means that one teacher doesn't have to teach 30 kids at the same time. He maybe can teach 5 kids in the same time, but he's using tools to do this. So we need different kinds of teachers. We need different kinds of appliers of AI, but we still need them. And I think it's a great tool to use it. And on the other hand, what do you need? Well, we need more machine learning people, but we also need people for jobs that don't exist. I look for people who do AI ethics, AI compliance, AI regulation. Thousands of companies will fall under the AI Act, and no one has a clue. I mean, these are thousands of opportunities to do business out there, to find your spot. I'm doing mentoring, and I teach them in AI ethics and the intersections of, you know, sustainability, for example. Man, amazing many fields out there. If you're creative and smart, don't be afraid of the future. It will be great. It just won't be great if you stop innovating, if you stop changing, and then it's companies, educations, or people who are staying behind.
Love that, Fabian. Thank you very much. And we see that many like your comment, but I need now to maybe hand over here to Stephan, and because of the comparison with China. So, please look from China. You heard Fabian.
In fact, of course, I'm not in on these AI regulation topics in China, but I can say that we follow with high interest that as we have our Digital Markets Act in Europe and Consumer Protection Act, and of course AI regulations, we also saw China in some cases is also quite topical in consumer protection, for example, on displaying the algorithms that were being applied to consumers on the screen on a program that they opened. And so I think, I don't know about now this special teaching topic in China, but in general, I think they also have very deep thoughts on how to use it for society. But what I want to say about the chances, in fact, on AI, I think that maybe, I mean, I completely agree. It's like a bell ringing with this ChatGPT because everyone is alerted. And I think if this really makes people in masses around the globe use ChatGPT, and we maybe see an acceleration of AI learning and a new quality, maybe really, because there will be so many questions on the bots, so many learning of AI models and applications on a high level, really. I think we will see a speeding up of quality of AI and getting breakthroughs. And I'm as a lawyer, I'm really interested to see if and when we reach the point that, you know, in legal studies, you get these cases and there's a text, and when you can ask a bot, so how is this legally to be interpreted? How is this case to be solved? Who can get what here in this case? I wonder when such a bot arrives. That would be causal interlinkation and analysis of text. But that's what, of course, the lawyer dreams about. And second, about the teachers and school is, I think it's a huge opportunity, because already as now, I don't know if you have experienced, there are really high quality teaching videos in the net, which all the kids use. And they have some really best teachers in Germany also, who really explain very well on how things work, and the kids watch it because it's much better than many of what they have at the school. But of course, these are videos on all the different topics. And now with such a program, you can really have an individualized teaching on questions, you know, how exactly this algorithm is to be set up. And if that explains it to you, this can be a next level help, not general like with videos, but it can help weaker pupils to keep up and strong pupils to get their interests be fed with new information. So I think it's a huge opportunity in that case.
Amazing. Just one quick follow-up question. So talking about lawyers and the human in the loop, do you think the lawyers become the lawyers in the loop and the AI does the all data analysis in the future?
I think unfortunately, we're still far away from that, because it's you must not only, I mean, you must synthesize the text and understand what text is where. That's already something, because it's so many texts out there, so that can help already. But then do really a causal an interpretation by sense and cause, and understanding from the judgments. I think we are away from that for quite a time. And of course, there are always different opinions in law, so no problem with, you know, a human lawyer.
Thank you so much, Stephan. Handing over to Anna Maria, maybe to comment, but I have a follow-up question for you as well, already lined up. So please.
Yeah, taking over from Stephan again. So yes, there is a field of AI called argumentation that could be potentially used by lawyers. I don't know how much it is used, but I'd like to point out that this does not replace the lawyer. It's like in mathematics, there is something that's a type of AI that does mathematical proof. So it just collates parts of knowledge and helps with the argumentation. But of course, I think the person that makes the decision should still remain always the lawyer, and that interprets the soul of the law correctly. But coming back to our education part, the fact that we miss so many million teachers is not an AI problem. And I think there are human problems. There is such a thing as teacher burnout. So I think it really depends on how we frame the role of the teacher. And it's very important to give people jobs that are interesting and will not lead to burnout, and they don't have two huge classes that they have to teach. So in that respect, I very much agree that the AI can help create educational materials faster, or can act as a learning assistant. So if you're interacting with it, perhaps the teacher can review your interactions and see what kind of information did you learn in the last, I don't know, week, what kind of sources, what kind of examples did you see? But of course, I still believe that we need teachers. They embody not just knowledge, but they engage and they inspire us. So they are role models, not just knowledge providers.
Thank you very much, Anna Maria. So here we have the human in the loop teacher now as well, here, because the role is changing. I would like to grab one of the questions which our audience have asked, and this was about, as a person with disabilities, it feels like really being helpful. What do you think about the assistive possibilities of ChatGPT, Anna Maria?
Oh, that's an amazing question. I think because ChatGPT is open to the public currently, it would be great if we'd have more people that have disabilities think up potential use cases that are very useful for them. Because I think, yes, there is an embodied component to knowledge, and one can come up with ideas, but I think maybe not be as empathic as if you are already in that position. You will find out what kind of use cases could help you. So I think it would be very useful to get people together and come up with possibilities themselves and be creative about that. But that's an amazing question to think about. I haven't thought about that. I will think about that.
We can come back later to it, but I think it's definitely one of the opportunities here, and it's a perfect question actually talking about what these opportunities can be. Handing over to you, Richie. You've been waiting for quite some time now.
Yes, it's fine. Actually, what I wanted to add was about the teachers. Actually, both of my parents are teachers, and I saw them like years always doing a lot of work besides like teaching, like at home, correcting stuff, preparing the lessons. And I think a tool like GPT would have been great to make this easier or faster. Like correcting, I guess it's a really repetitive task, and maybe that could be a great idea to use it there. And for the teacher could then focus on the parts that are great, that makes the lesson great and makes the lesson more creative, and not like the repetitive task was correcting.
So we see that the role of the teachers really needs to evolve based on the ChatGPT, which I think is really exciting and eventually frees up more focus time. And let's move on to how do education institutions need to change with the rise of AI actually. And here from Dell 2017, an estimated 85% of jobs in 2030 haven't been invented yet. The pace of change will be so rapid that people will learn in the moment using new technologies such as augmented reality and virtual reality. The ability to gain new knowledge will be more valuable than the knowledge itself. And I would like to, Stephan, for you actually maybe to comment first on this kind of assumption here from there.
Okay. Yeah, I think we will see a speeding up, I think, of training and knowledge transfer for the future for employees and everyone else, because I mean we have seen this in the last decades already, that learning on the job and in the job becomes more and more important and offers job opportunities. And what we really need is that we have the institutions in place that can offer such understanding and programs. And that's why we must really keep pace with the development and have the best knowledge carrier also here available, so that people can learn directly from the source and can get good information. And I think it's here that really such new tools, again, that they offer also the opportunity to learn easier at home or on the job via internet, via new programs, and be quickly and directly informed. Also, of course, with a decline in costs and better efficiency. So I think that must be a very strong topic. That's why we really try to set up here an ecosystem that is very diverse in its abilities and institutions, concerning not only, of course, in the schools, but for universities, but also, of course, for all the people in the jobs. How can they learn? And we have set up a program, AI Talents, with Tech Quartier, that is open to everyone, from coming from companies, etc., to get exactly in this topic in. And we want to evaluate this program and understand what does it bring, what do people do afterwards with this knowledge? Do they remain in their job? Do they change job? Do they suddenly become entrepreneurs? Or I don't know, well, does their motivation change? And we are going to set up more of these kinds of programs and want to set up this, what we call entrepreneurship and transfer structure for the whole of the state, where all startup hubs and universities, etc., can contribute. And I think this kind of network can really provide the knowledge and offerings, what we need for this lifetime learning.
So Stephan, you're saying we need to have not just think about the education institutions, but really about the ecosystem we need to create to support that. Really, thank you. Handing over to Fabian here.
Yeah, it's a discussion. Yeah, so I want to throw into our thoughts. Yes, we can prepare the kids, students, lifelong learning. I mean, we always have to learn, but what we only need to be prepared for, honestly, is life. What I lack, I always think like, okay, education system was well. I mean, I studied in 3 countries, it was good, but no one prepared me how to live healthy, by the way. Yes, how to eat healthy, how to sleep healthy, how to meditate. And no one taught me how to do finances properly. Yeah, how to navigate there. Like we get educated for jobs, and honestly, jobs are 50% pain in the ass and 50% can be great. But I hate the idea that we have a whole education system optimizing us for work, not for life. And this is something I always today look for holistic approaches. It is the whole body, it's everything belongs together, and we should stop. The AIs are super smart and working. We shouldn't try to build humans who are just like AIs thinking machines. And today, most of us are educated for computer work. So we are thinking machines, data input, output. Where do we need people? Teachers, not computers. Healthcare, not computers. We need more people for people, by the way. Yeah. So what I learned is that AI and other technologies are red braids. And I use it a lot, but it just means I'm getting more and more efficient. So I work more and more because I can achieve more. So I have to force myself, go out, go in your cabin, go in your wood, be offline. And this is all I'm missing. So I just wanted to throw this in more.
So Fabian, but you're saying our time we're spending should be less on work, but actually more on living from that perspective. And that's one of the aspects actually enables us maybe also to focus on more. And that our education institutions talking about them should help us to prepare better for life and not just for work. Understand this correctly, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, Anna Maria, what do you think about that?
I love that because I think learning is also an aspect that needs to be sustainable, right? And of course, learning in the moment part, I love what that says about lifelong learning. But yes, there has to be life and there have to be interesting moments in which we can learn and moments in which learning is sustainable. So it's created in bite-sized chunks or chunks that, I don't know, can be fit around our life. And I think this is an ongoing argument we have at our university when we create our programs. And we're on the brink of doing research with our own AI into finding out how we can help students integrate into their life education. So besides that, I think it can really ensure a faster transfer from the scientific community. As I was saying, I think it's important that we provide communities that support learning. I think this will become more and more important as we move to perhaps a trend where you are just joining a cohort of people that can be, I don't know, a 9-year-old interested in tech and the 75-year-old grandma from Tahiti, and you're learning the same subject potentially and starting a business. And yes, I think the learning of the future is really about bringing people together that are interested in the same thing and making sure they can learn it together.
Thank you. Oliver, what's your thought on this?
Well, I'm happy for this discussion, and in a sense, it reminds me on 2 studies, if you allow me, that I feel interesting also for this debate here. One was around, we called it the AHEAD study, where basically on a lifelong learning perspective, you could see different scenarios, how institutions and the overall educational system provides more flexibility for different pathways of learning. So our current model right now is still more or less focused on this idea that you have an initial phase and you may have some continuous education or lifelong learning elements, but I think the flexibility patterns are still very limited. And in this regard, I would say that now the door is much more open to these sort of new combinations. A second study that we came up with is driven around the title of blended universities. So I think right now we see a lot of on-campus institutions that have maybe some add-on with e-learning or online provisions. But the question, how can this be more directed into a strategic alignment, taking the best out of the different worlds? This is something that I feel is coming here more into focus. And overall, I am, in a sense, let's say, wondering with the divide that I mentioned in the beginning, how can we actually make sure that the institutions are not just in a defensive mode, but really exploiting in a more experimental fashion those opportunities? How can we actually also review the curricula? In 2 days, we have an online, we call it Flip Barcamp, where we look into AI competencies, into digital competencies, and how can this affect the curricula? I think we need this technoliteracy. And you were mentioning, last point, you were mentioning China. I mean, it's definitely a question, how is Europe as a, let's say, third space able to really provide the right skill set? So I'm happy, Fabian, with what you mentioned. I mean, I envy you. But coming from a industrial perspective, in the sense, where is our current system in Europe? I really think we need this literacy, and also the ability in a university setting, not just to use it, but maybe to understand it and then to apply it. And this combination to have maybe the competency to really go beyond the usage, I think is something we need to develop, and we need the curricula to do that, and maybe the overall direction that this is a very strong demand and task for the upcoming years.
Thank you. Yeah, just to mention this, you can again use the emojis, but you can also please always ask your questions, add them to the link here. We will always try to integrate the questions, or we have a time left at the end also to answer further questions. Vichy, handing over to you. I think you have to have a comment here.
Yeah, just one last thing. I think what everyone mentioned sounded a bit like my university, like Toronto's university, and that's also one of the reasons I chose this university, because I think they do a lot of things right, and it feels right for me, and also like what this university is, to do it and to have different subjects like growth mindset already incorporated, which is so nice. And I guess for me, it looks and feels like the future of education.
Happier. No, thank you very much for commenting that, and I appreciate that. Maybe moving forward to the next topic, because it's not just about the education institutions, it's really about what are the core skills which students need, so AI will be beneficial for them. And if you're a nice tweet from Santiago, AI will not replace you, a person using AI will. And maybe starting here with Anna Maria to comment.
Yes, that is a great tweet, isn't it? So to use, let's say, still ChatGPT as the example, to use it well, you need to be able to give it prompts and directions. And this is an art in and of itself. So I would think actually having more expertise in the field rather than less expertise will have you get greater results potentially. So it doesn't exclude human expertise out of the picture. And then I think skills related to problem solving, to vision, because you need to know what you're trying to get at before you get in that direction, creativity, and entrepreneurship. So to delve maybe a bit deeper in those, entrepreneurship, because you need drive to push something you have created. It's ChatGPT is not going to push it for you just because you can make, I don't know, the blog posts automatically. It's not going to push your business idea or build a community for you or motivate it to drive the things further. If you're serving humans, you still need to interact with humans. So empathy, I guess, it's still a core skill, and emotional intelligence. Then intelligent inquiry, asking interesting questions. You have to ask interesting questions to get interesting answers. So critical thinking, I think it's actually going to be a very important skill. And yeah, is what ChatGPT is telling you, is it true? Currently, it's not in all the cases. So as we have seen, we will see whether we'll get some measure of truthfulness attached to perhaps some of the statements it's making in the future. That would be nice. Then in the domain of creativity, you need flexibility and an ability to approach problems in many different ways, because if not, if you ask a very banal question, you're probably going to get a very run-of-the-mill answer that most people would have given. So taking again blog creation, you probably need to bring very interesting questions from different fields and like web them together into an interesting script for ChatGPT to create something very interesting for you, I guess. So basically learning approaches that emphasize those skills. And I'm curious what Fabian has to say as well.
Fabian.
I just want to add one thing because it's very, I mean, just agree. When my parents ask me something, I tell them Google first. And maybe one day it will be the answer before you ask me something or before you write something, ChatGPT first. You know, use what's out there first before you annoy people or ask them. Or there's another saying, if you can't find answers on Google, then you call a lawyer, then you call an expert, your professor, whatever. But you find it yourself, please do it. So I just wanted to add, I mean, it's...
Okay, Fabian, one more follow-up question here. Imagine
Can I add one, Christian?
Please.
Curiosity, I think, and the spirit of experimentation, because in connection to Fabian, what is saying, you need to ask some questions yourself and experiment a little bit before you think you have found the right answers. And I think that's something that will remain a core skill in the future.
In 10 years from today, what is the most important competence when AI has taken over the world, Fabian? Because you talked about that you're in AI now for 10 years, but looking forward to the next 10 years. And you mentioned already there's a lot going on and it's upcoming. You can see what's happening. So what is the most important thing in 10 years?
I struggle because you have the researchers, but then you have the industry, and we only get to know it if the industry is applying it, and they need an incentive. If you're so specialized that you are charging 1,000 euros an hour, you know, then it's too expensive to build an AI because it's so specialized, like you're an expert. If you are in the fields of minimum salary, man, there's no reason to replace you too. Human work is too affordable, it's too cheap. We need more AI in the field where we don't have enough talents and shortage, which is in the medium sector. And I think it will be everywhere. It will be the hopefully that I go to a doctor and he has all my data, all the analytics, but he is telling me that I have cancer and what my treatment versions are. You know, he's bringing over the empathy, but the analytics is done by the machine or the, you know, etc. The same as I go to a bank. If I want to do myself, I use trade, but you know, but you still can go to an old school bank and get advisory because you need the human relationship. Humans will never disappear out of the loop and jobs will not disappear. They're still there. They just change sometimes more and we need more. So I think in 10 years, it will be all like, yeah, I knew like it will be organically, it will feel natural. It will not be like a big surprise. There will not be millions of layoffs because we have self-driving cars, because we speak about self-driving cars for decades. Yes, and then you still will have paying a premium because you get driven by a human. You will pay extra for this, either for trust or for comfort because he opens you the door and is nice to you. And it will take some time until AI is replacing it. But if AI is cheaper, just for consumption, it will be cheaper and will do it for you.
So, Oliver, Stephan, if you want to comment, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I give now to Anna Maria to comment here.
Please, first give Anna Maria, then I can also say, like to say something.
Just a very brief comment on, I was playing around at this idea with Peter that in the future we might have some form of tag or label that states made by a human. In the same way, now we have things handmade versus industrially produced. And then it brings the question of the value of something that has been produced only by the human in the picture. So that's very tangential.
No,
so
I agree. If I write newsletters, I put 100% written by humans under it because it's first full of typos. ChatGPT makes less typos. Second, yes, I want that the human work is still valued. And as I said, we will pay a premium for it and we'll value it at a certain time.
And then you train ChatGPT to make your pattern of errors. So you can I think actually made in the style of you might be something that becomes something interesting in the future. So you have an AI that can represent you, your knowledge, the way you will answer questions. And maybe that's something you will actually sell in the future. You're not maybe available all the time as an expert if you have, you know, very deep skills that you want to keep on learning on and cultivating, but you might be able to train a bot to answer for you in the same style as you with the same knowledge you would give and with the same opinions and inclinations.
By the way, China using this for news anchorments, like they have artificial news anchorments because they always say what the state wants,
So
But they,
convenient.
they deploy it. They always take the ideas we have and then they deploy it in their version.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Stefan,
It's very clear-cut information. I think AI in the next 10 years, it will continue to open new opportunities and enrich our lives. Really. Because if you remember, like 30, 40 years ago, we had this debate of machines making people unemployed or making our lives more miserable. And what happens? We have more people than ever being employed and using all these kind of machines, etc. So that is why it's very simple. I think there's unlimited work to be done to improve our lives. Yeah? It's really unlimited. And the question is only, do we organize our society in a way that is efficient, in a way that it makes our lives enjoyable, and we produce a lot of services and goods and so ever, or do we organize in a more simple way that offers not so many good medicine treatments or schools or relaxation times, vacation times? I mean, all this is coming up in this debate about having also for normal employees having really half a year or a year off, to reflect or do some other studies or just relax, and all these gains we get from a more well-organized society in the end. And I think, to be honest, also when I see our lively discussion on this really interesting topic, how this has evolved and enriched our lives, if you compare probably back to many decades. We can discuss with people all over the globe, but just here going in the internet and discuss these new developments. And this opens to the new generations more opportunities to start businesses or to follow their own ideas. But it's completely true. But one thing doesn't change. We must remain. We remain the source of how we use all these tools. And if you don't have any starting idea, it's difficult to use the instruments. And just remember, what you said, how many teachers are being needed globally. I think tools like this and new programs can really help very poor countries and areas where there are no good schools, etc. But it's like, mobile phones were a huge opportunity, internet for huge areas in Africa and some other areas. The same can be true with new internet applications. It can really increase the life standard of so many people. So I think we must remain critical. That was my beginning comment to understand, where they say there's much knowledge probably that cannot be used by now by these instruments. That's where I came from, and that's why I said it would be maybe so interesting to also reflect again how we build up this metaverse, so to say. Who can reach what kind of information under which rules? We have very strict rules by the moment. I think now maybe we can share more. So that would be an even step ahead.
Thank you. And maybe I would like to take one question in here from Corina for you, Oliver, which was about, do we think that curiosity and creativity will replace coding skill requirements in tech jobs interviews in the next years? So if we talk about the core skills of students, we see that so many people today learn coding skills. Is this still relevant in 10 years? What do you think?
Well, I would say certainly, and I like what Anna Maria said about the human factor, let's say, that curiosity and creativity certainly are core components that I think will be more relevant in the upcoming years. However, coming from the argument before, in terms of what is it in skills, for instance, this judgment capacity to understand what is actually the technology doing, how can we also be sensitive, as Stephan was mentioning, and wonder how is this affecting our systems. I think there is a sort of more genuine necessity to develop these sort of judgment capacities. And in this regard, I would say that it's maybe a different set of skills in what we consider technical literacy, but it's still going to be very relevant. But allow me to make two comments from the question, what we're going to see in 10 years. One is I have a Spanish grandma, and I love how she is dealing with her family, kids, and all. But when she grew up in Andalusia, the world was a completely different place. And I think we have a lot of opportunities that will certainly be maximized in the upcoming years in terms of how can we develop as individuals, how can we be empowered to make choices, how can we use this freedom. I think that's fantastic. But the second, maybe a bit more wandering statement, and I don't want to ditch the party here, but I think looking at the world with all the pressing challenges, and we had that in Germany just these days about climate change, sustainability questions. How do we actually manage to have this system that we want to keep up sustainable? I think this is something where certainly AI can maybe also help us to have the capacity to look into these most pressing challenges. And I'm just wishful that we find those pathways, how this can be combined and then make solutions more effective.
So we need to leverage AI in more different fields and more different industries. Yeah. And Maria, you want to comment here?
Yes, I also wanted to comment on what Stephan said. I think the well-being angle is very important. And I think our responsibility as a society is the culture we build around AI, because AI can solve many things, but who owns that AI? What is that AI used to replace jobs or elevate jobs? Those are questions that only we can answer, not the technology. So it's very important that we are responsible about that. And also, like in the learning path of every human, we have nowadays, I guess, we have cultural things, like we have the gap year, for example, something that some people take before they start university or after finishing university before starting a job. We have unemployment, which is when people don't have a job anymore, but we don't have anything in between that is about, at some point in your life, you've become an expert, you're bored with your job, you want to become an expert at something else, and you take, some form of a sabbatical that it's not a sabbatical within your field. And I think we need to develop much more understanding and many more cultural forms in which we can just reconvert, prepare to learn new things, become experts in multiple fields. We already see a trend towards people not having just one career, but multiple serial careers in different things. So I think this will become more accelerated in the future.
More interdisciplinarity. Stephan.
Just a brief question here to the round. What do you think, because Anna Maria just said that who owns the AI, so what do you expect? I would be interested. Will we see a new champion like Google as the search engine? Will ChatGPT become the new and mostly used chatbot, or will we see a multitude? What do you expect? What kind of market structure do you see coming up? Or will Google tomorrow present something similar? What do you think?
Fabian. You muted, Fabian.
I misclicked. So for this, I've thought about this. Currently, in the Drusseldam, it's a language model. Yes, ChatGPT. It's based on the internet, but it's still run by an American corporation, mainly financed by Microsoft and Elon Musk. It has clearly political views. If you look at Sam Altman, who wants to live on a remote island, so he has no laws anymore, no taxation. So this is a very liberal technotopian mindset behind this company, and this is now writing your answers, your education, is spamming the internet all over, because it's just a question after your spam bots based on ChatGPT. So this is a rule-based system, like cultural rule-based, coming from US. And we get along with this because we lost the wars and we accepted the American superiority until today. and this is still going on. The Chinese don't accept the superiority. They have their own models, their own languages. They have very brilliant models too. They have even more than this. It's harder to figure this out because we can't really test it and use it. But all my Chinese AI sources, they speak about similar topics, so they have this. We don't. And with we, I mean Europeans. So we Europeans are usual, again, stuck in the middle between Orwellian, dystopia on the one hand, and the liberal and tech utopian futuristic version, but still carrying guns all the time. And we don't have the best from both worlds. We need to figure our own way. And there again, I say we need our own language models. We have, for example, Leam, which is a German initiative. We need this on German level for the language. We need this on European level for all the cultures. By the way, the only way to preserve our culture, and then we open again what we had the discussion, the deep web, and give them real values like all the poems, all the literal, all the emails between people, like privacy considering, give them a real insight, the AIs, but then question ownership. So my dream is to build how do you say, not scholarship, Stiftung, foundation for this, thing, which is at the end owned by the people who maybe provide the data, by everyone, citizens here. They feed in the data, they benefit from this, and it is not optimizing for capital return, it is optimizing for societal welfare and benefit.
Beautiful. I love that. But it's a very interesting discussion. Anna Maria, please comment. We need to move on because I'm just watching at the time. We are already coming to the end of our time. I have more questions, but I think, we need to come to an end eventually. So Anna Maria, please.
Very quick points. OpenAI also states is for the interest of humankind. So I'm really interested in seeing whether they're going to do that or not. And from a scientific perspective, generative artificial intelligence models, we've been researching them for like more than a decade. So we've done this in computational creativity, trying to create images, sounds, creating text. So I would not think that the barrier to entry is very high. So I think we can replicate it in case the ChatGPT will be owned in a bad way. But yes.
It costs 3 million a day to run ChatGPT. It costs $1 billion a year to investment, the computing power behind it. We don't have the computing power. Even if we have it, we pay American companies to do it. And second is, we don't have a single source of financing just to come close. And I see the discussions on German level. We are a fucking rich country, and we are too cheap to do it ourselves. That is just the reality experience. Research, brilliant, but when about reality, we look at it and we do nothing.
So we would need to open up the National Library, put it on the net, and put a supercomputer next to it. So
way more. The government is the single largest source of data collection. They know so much stuff about where the plants are flowering, etc. I know so many startups building on the stack if they get contracts. Wonderful, beautiful, it's sustainable. Everything works a little bit better. The government can start opening up first.
Okay,
take that. Take care of it, please. Oliver, I hope your question is answered. Yeah, so I think we will see more systems and also with buyers actually creating that, and maybe a foundation could be an answer to create an alternative European version of this. What we see. Just to come to the end now. Yeah, Oliver, you want to comment?
I just wanted to quickly build a bridge to Fabian, because I think it's very interesting. On a European level, there is this European Digital Education Hub. They will have a focus in springtime on this AI in education question. And I think these kind of visions and ideas are perfectly placed in there. And there are maybe also other stages that we shall continue with this discussion, but I don't want to get into your final curve, Christian.
More funding as well needed. So coming to our final questions. And I would like now to take really a full round. What advice can you give to learners, founders, and institutions when it comes to actually AI, ChatGPT, and how this will change the future, what we have not discussed actually in so many aspects. And maybe to start off with Richie here.
Yes, I think the first thing is to acknowledge that AI won't go away. AI won't or will get better over time. It won't get worse. So I think to acknowledge it and to learn how to deal with it and use it is a great idea. For example, for me as a coder, I already use Copilot, which is an AI to help me coding, and that's really great. But I was at the beginning, I was also a bit shy on it and thought maybe that's not really useful. But I can only advise anyone to use AI and try it. But on the other hand, don't follow an AI blindly. I would say, and just think about that. Also, there are bad parts about AI, and think about it critically. That's my 2 cents.
Thank you very much, Gigi. I've heard, talking about Google quickly here, I've heard that Google has actually ChatGPT for quite some time, and they presented it at the last conference, the Google I/O, but it's not launched because there are concerns how it can be misused. Yeah. So ask ChatGPT about how to create a bomb, for example, could be one of the cases which you need to think about actually when it comes to this kind of AI and using it. Fabian, do you want to continue maybe? I'm doing this from the backwards now.
First remark, ChatGPT is, by the way, heavily censored. Yes, like DALL-E. I mean, you can't make news with DALL-E, and ChatGPT, you can't write something negative about this person or criticize him or something like this. You know, critical thinking is just limited there. Critical answers are also limited, and that brings me to my points. First, challenge everything. Half of the internet is a lie. Like, we might even have bots here. I mean, there's a recorder bot here, and what I mean is, if I checked out my own Wikipedia article, I would say half of it is not true. Like, you know, everything is, you have to always keep on thinking it and challenge the status quo. And if you use tools, and please use them, think critical. I mean, this is your surviving instinct. So about self-driving cars one day, you trust them, but if it says, oh, there's a bridge and you don't see a fucking bridge, man, press the button. Don't stop thinking yourself. And the other thing is, the more you use tech, the more please build relationships to humans. Because humans are first making you happy, way happier than the machines. Yes, energy-wise, and second, humans help you. They promote you, they give you jobs, they give you clients, they give you sales. At the end, you interact with humans all the time. You use, software for the interaction. That's wonderful. And CRM for, keeping up with all this. But at the end, it's always people-to-people business. And for this, you should be prepared.
Thank you so much. Stephan.
Yeah, I think that we will see an acceleration of AI application and the use globally with this very tangible tool and the discussion that it's spurred. And we should become aware of this and really adapt our activity and everything we do on this new development. And we must be at the top of the development in Europe. I agree with that. We should not be we should be front runner and not be behind, which is very important. And we should really at the same time link it to this discussion what we had here. Get good information in the net and for all this information, because when it comes more important, with more people use it, I mean, 20 years ago, internet was not important. The information you got from there was a very tiny element of your information basis. But today it becomes more and more important. And then we must really see, we have this debate in the media, about the fake news and all this. And you can influence, as it was just said, you just scan an old article from something which has a very extreme position, and you bring it into the net, and then the ChatGPT or somebody else will find it and give it in as an important source, but in fact it was not an important source. So I think we must increase our reflections really on that. And I think we have all the opportunities, but it's not fully understand yet. We are at the beginning.
We are at the beginning. Oliver.
Well, I take up on the early days of the internet. When I was studying, I won't tell you when that was, but in that days, when I was working in the university, we had the fastest internet in all over Germany or Europe. The universities were in place to make use of this technology. They were doing lots of stuff which developed then over the years, and now we have a complete different picture. So my advice would be to try again to get into the driver's seat and not just to try to close the door again. And in this sense, how we can build the right networks, how we can have the collaboration in place, how we can scale the learnings that I can see are happening right now in different settings. I would love this future readiness discussion to really extend and to, like I said in the beginning, to make sure that this is not just for the few evangelists that have maybe been here today, but to make this societal discussion that is actually engaging a lot more people. And for this, I feel we need AI, but as well, we need our creativity to really put our heads together on this end.
Thank you. And last but not least, Anna Maria.
Those are some great answers. I think at the institutional level, I'd say prepare your institution for it, build networks, and build a great culture around AI and technology. Understand what's the human part, what's the AI part. And as a person, play with it. Don't be afraid of it. Learn about it. Learn about AI. Join a place where you can learn about AI. I'm not going to tell you which place, but yeah, I know a place. And just be creative and try to learn with other people together, because I think learning with other people has amazing benefits of bringing multiple human minds together. And the results you might get are unexpected and even more exciting than just playing with an AI. That's it.
Thank you very much. Yeah, so we had now pretty much 1.5 hours already in discussion, and we have here so many more questions actually lined up, but unfortunately I'll be running out of time. So I would like to thank you very much now to join the panel, to the audience first. I think it was really great to have you here, actually engage with us. A big thank you to Anna Maria, our professor joining from tomorrow University, Oliver, MD of Hochschulforum Digitalisierung to join. Stephan, big thank you for representing here the state of Hessen as well. Fabian, thank you very much to share with your experience here in the AI field. It's great to have you back actually after being in the woods and actually thinking about life. It's really great to have that reflection. And thank you very much, Richie, to join us as a student, bringing in here the student perspectives. For me, it's a lot about that the future is definitely unclear how this will unfold. We've talked about China as a comparison and how it also AI might, what are the risks of AI in that regard when it comes to employment and jobs which are changing, education will be changing. We talked a lot about also the chances of AI, which I think is really great, because I think as one of the highlights for me was about talking about life. What does it mean for us actually, and how we maybe also can focus more on our life, and that we need to learn more about our life and actually are preparing us for our life when it comes to education, but also the chances of actually serving better around the globe people and creating better solutions actually around the globe, which I think is another really interesting aspect of AI and a big chance of AI, but also how our education institutions need to adopt for that. In the next, talking here about ChatGPT, I just looked it up. They reached 1 million users in 3 days. Yeah, so there's a quite change now, and adoption also happening, as Oliver mentioned here. I think this is something which changes, accelerating, and affects more of us. So we need to also adopt and think about the institutions, how this will change, and finally, it's also about what are the competences actually which we need. Talking about creativity, entrepreneurship, empathy, especially the relations, which also was one of the final words, and critical thinking, etc. So a big thank you to all of you for joining here tomorrow University today at our campus, and I wish you a very nice evening. Thank you very much. big thank you again, Fabian, Oliver, Anna Maria, and Richie, and Stephan for joining us here.